Ever put together like a bookshelf or something and you end up with extra parts?
So, yeah.
Like it's all set up, it works fine, but there's those extra screws or whatever just sitting there. And it kind of makes you wonder, did I miss something?
Definitely. I always think like, oh no, what did I do wrong?
Oh, that's kind of the feeling I get when I read Hosea 2.8.
Interesting.
It's like we're diving deep into this idea of, misusing blessings. Having all the right pieces, but maybe we're not putting them together the right way.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it. And Hosea 2.8 really gets at that tension.
Yeah, and what's so powerful is that it uses this metaphor of marriage.
Right. Hosea the prophet is talking about Israel and God, but he's using his own relationship with his wife Gomer to kind of illustrate what's going on.
So in this metaphor, Gomer represents Israel.
Yeah.
And she's being unfaithful, right? She's taking all the good things Hosea has given her and using them to
run after other lovers, basically.
And that's the parallel, right?
That-
Israel's
yeah.
doing that to God.
Exactly. They're turning away from the one true source of all the good stuff in their lives.
And going after these idols like Baal.
It's like they thought they could hedge their bets, Keep God happy, but also try out these other gods just in case.
Like trying to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. But the problem is you can't split your loyalty like that. Not with God.
So the Israelites had all these blessings. Food, security, land, all gifts from God, right?
Right.
But they started attributing all that good stuff to Baal.
Yeah, like they needed to keep Baal happy, to keep the good times rolling. It's almost like they forgot where the blessings were really coming from.
It's kind of like saying, thanks for the awesome birthday present, Mom and Dad, but I'm going to go trade it in for something I like better.
Ouch. Yeah, that's rough. But what's even more unsettling is that this isn't just some ancient history lesson.
Oh.
This applies to us today. Even those of us who call ourselves Christians, we can fall into the same trap.
Wait, so you're saying we could be misusing God's gifts without even realizing it?
It's more common than you think. We might not be building altars to Baal.
Sure.
But we might be giving credit to the wrong things for our success or our talents or even our sense of security.
Okay, so how do we even recognize that? Like, what are some examples of that happening today?
Well, the source material gets pretty specific. And some of the examples might hit a little close to home for all of us.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. Let's unpack those, shall we? Where do we start?
Let's start with something most of us can relate to. Our careers.
Hmm.
Okay, so careers, most of us want to do well in our jobs, right? Get that promotion or recognition for our hard work.
Yeah, for sure. It's like we're wired to want to achieve things, to climb that ladder, as they say.
Exactly. But the question is, what's driving that ambition?
That's a good question.
Are we working hard to honor God with our gifts? To be good providers for our families?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Or have we gotten so caught up in success that it's become the most important thing? Our whole identity is wrapped up in our job title.
Like if you lost your job tomorrow, would your whole world fall apart?
Yeah, exactly. That might be a sign that your career has become your Baal, so to speak.
Okay, so that's a pretty sobering thought. It's not that having goals is bad.
Right, ambition itself isn't the problem.
It's where we're putting our hope and trust.
It's about what happens when things don't go our way. Are we still rooted in God's love, or are we going to completely freak out?
So maybe a good question to ask ourselves is, am I seeking fulfillment through my work, or am I trying to use my work to serve God?
Yeah. It's a subtle shift, but it makes all the difference. It's
Yeah.
like, are you working for your boss, or are you working for God?
Okay, so that's careers.
Yeah.
What about wealth? That seems like another potential idol.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Let's be real. Money's important. We need it to survive.
Right. And I think most of us wouldn't mind having a little extra financial security.
Exactly. But here's where it gets tricky. It's not about the money itself. It's about our attitude towards it.
Okay, I see what you mean.
The source material asks, what does wealth represent to you? Is it a source of security, or has it become a symbol of status and power?
Yeah, I remember it saying something like, we can be tempted to see wealth as a sign of God's favor.
Right, like, God must really love me because look how much he's blessed me.
But the thing is, that's not always true. Sometimes wealth can be a distraction, even a curse.
Yeah, it can pull us away from God instead of drawing us closer.
So it's not that money is bad.
It's about our hearts. Are we using our resources to bless others and further God's kingdom, or are we hoarding it all for ourselves?
So it's about being good stewards of what God has given us.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, it's all his anyway.
Okay, so we've covered careers and wealth. What about fame and recognition? That seems like a big one these days with social media and everything.
Oh, absolutely. The desire for attention and approval is like baked into our DNA.
Yeah, it's hard to escape that pressure to present this perfect image online.
Right. And the source material is basically saying, be careful who you're trying to impress.
Because it's easy to start building a platform for ourselves instead of pointing people to God.
It's like we're trying to get people to follow us instead of following Jesus.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the number of likes and followers.
But those things are so fleeting. They can't provide the lasting fulfillment that only God can give.
So maybe the question is, what am I seeking through my online presence? Connection with others or just validation for myself?
Yeah. It's all about our motivations. Are we using our platforms to share God's love or just to build our own brand?
These are some tough questions, but
Yeah.
I think they're really important ones to wrestle with.
Definitely. Because it's so easy to create these modern-day idols without even realizing it.
And I think that's the big takeaway here,
It's
right?
not about avoiding success or wealth or even fame.
It's about making sure our hearts are in the right place.
It's about making sure those things are pointing us toward God and not away from Him.
Okay, so we've uncovered all these ways we can subtly, turn good things into idols.
Yeah, it's scary how easy it is to do that without even realizing it.
So how do we course correct? How do we make sure we're not, accidentally building those golden calves in our lives?
Well, the source material really emphasizes gratitude, like recognizing that everything we have is a gift.
Okay. But gratitude can feel kind of abstract sometimes.
Yeah.
How does just, feeling thankful actually change anything?
Think of it this way. When you truly appreciate a gift, you want to use it right.
Yeah, you would just, stick it in a drawer and forget about it.
Exactly. You'd want to use it for its intended purpose, to enjoy it, to share it with others.
Okay, I see what you mean. So if we really grasp that everything good comes from God,
Then we'll naturally want to use those gifts in a way that honors Him.
it's like living a thank you kind of life.
Exactly. And that can look different for everyone. It doesn't have to be some big grand gesture.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not all out there building orphanages or anything.
Right. It's about those everyday choices, using our time and talents to serve others, being generous with our resources.
The small acts of kindness and love.
Yes, even just choosing to be patient in a frustrating situation. That can be an act of worship.
Because ultimately, it's about reflecting God's love to the world around us.
Exactly. And you know what's amazing?
What's that?
When we start living that way, when we shift our focus from ourselves to God and others, we actually experience a deeper joy and fulfillment than we ever could chasing after our own desires.
So it's not about deprivation, it's about redirection.
It's about making sure those good things in our lives are pointing us towards God and not away from Him.
This has been such a thought-provoking deep dive. It's like we've been given this blueprint, but sometimes we forget to check if we're building the right thing.
It's so easy to get caught up in the building process that we forget to consult the architect.
So to everyone listening, take a look around. What are those extra screws in your life?
Those blessings you might be using to build something for yourself instead of something for God.
And what's one small step you can take today to start using them differently?
To honor Him and reflect His love to the world. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first.
Yeah, like rearranging furniture you thought was in its perfect spot.
But trust me, when you start aligning your life with God's purpose, you'll find that those extra pieces suddenly make a lot more sense. And the masterpiece you end up creating will be far more beautiful and lasting than anything you could ever build on your own.